Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to the channel of World Reading. Today we're going to be reading more of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Chapter 5 Diagon Alley. Harry woke early the next morning. Although he could tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamed a giant called Hagrid came to tell me I was going to a school for wizards. When I open my eyes, I'll be at home in my cupboard. There was a loud tapping noise, and there's Aunt Petunia knocking at the door. Harry thought, his heart sinking, but he still didn't open his eyes. It had been such a good dream. Tap, tap, tap. All right, Harry mumbled. I'm getting up. He sat up, and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off him. The hut was full of sunlight. The storm was over. Hagrid himself was asleep on a collapsed sofa, and there was an owl rapping its claws on the window, a newspaper held in his beak. Harry scrambled to his feet, so happy he felt as though a large balloon was swelling inside him. He went straight to the window and jerked it open. The owl swooped in and dropped the newsletter on top of Hagrid, who didn't wake up. Oh, sorry. The owl then fluttered onto the floor and began to attack Hagrid's coat. Don't do that! Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely at him and carried on savaging the coat. Hagrid! Said Harry loudly. There's an owl! Pay him! Hagrid grunted into the sofa. What? The one's paying for delivering the paper. Look in the pocket. Hagrid's coat seemed to be made of nothing but pockets. Bunch of keys, slug pellets, ball of string, mint humbugs, tea bags. Finally, Harry pulled out a handful of strange-looking coins. Give him 5 nuts. Nuts? The little bronze ones. Harry counted out 5 little bronze coins, and the owl held out its legs so it could put the money into a small leather pouch tied to it. Then it flew off through the open window. Hagrid yawned loudly, sat up and stretched. Best be off, Harry. Lots to do today. Gotta get up to London and buy all stuff for your school. Harry was turning over the wizard coins, looking at them. He had just thought of something which made him feel as though a happy balloon inside him had got punctured. Hagrid? Hmm? Said Hagrid. He was pulling on his huge boots. I haven't got any money, and you heard Uncle Vernon last night. He won't pay me to go and learn magic. Don't worry about that, said Hagrid, standing up and stretching his head. Do you think your parents didn't leave you anything? But if the house was destroyed, they didn't keep that gold in the house, boy. Nah, first stop for us is Grinton's. Wizard's Bank. Have a sausage, they're not bad cold. And I wouldn't say no to a bit of your birthday cake neither. Wizards have banks? Just the one, Gringotts, run by Goblin. Harry dropped the bit of the sausage he was holding. Goblins? Yeah, so yeah, be mad to try and rob it. I'll tell ya that never mess with goblins, Harry. Gringotts is the safest place in the world for anything you want to keep safe. Except maybe Hogwarts. As a matter of fact, I gotta visit Gringotts anyway for Dumbledore. Hogwarts business. Hagrid drew himself up proudly. He usually gets me to do important stuff for him. Fetching you, getting things from Gringotts. Knows you can trust me, see? Got everything? Come on then. Harry followed Hagrid out on the rock. The sky was quite clear now, and the sea gleamed in the sunlight. The boat Uncle Vernon had hired was still there, with lots of water in the bottom after the storm. How did he get here? Harry asked, looking around for another boat. Flew, said Hagrid. Flew? Yeah, but we'll get him back in this. Not supposed to use magic now, I've got you. They've settled down in the boat. Harry's still staring at Hagrid, trying to imagine him flying. Seems a shame to row, though, said Hagrid, giving Harry another of his sideway looks. If I was to speed things up a bit, would you not mind mentioning it at Hogwarts? Of course not, said Harry, eager to see more magic. Hagrid pulled out a pink umbrella again, tapped it twice on the side of the boat, and they sped off towards land. Why would you be mad and try to rob Gringotts? Harry asked. Spells, enchantments, said Hagrid, unfolding his newspaper as he spoke. They say there's a dragon guarding the high security vault. And then you gotta find your way. Gringotts is hundreds of miles under London, see? Deep under the underground. You'd die of hunger trying to get out, even if you did manage to get your hands on stomach. Harry sat and thought about this while Hagrid read his newspaper, The Daily Prophet. Harry had learnt from Uncle Vernon that people liked to be left alone while they did this, but it was very difficult. He never seen so many questions in his life. Ministry of Magic, messing things up as usual, Hagrid muttered, turning in the page. Is it Ministry of Magic? Harry asked before he could stop himself. Of course, said Hagrid. They wanted Dumbledore for minister, of course, but he'll never leave Hogwarts. So old Cornelius Fudge got the job. Bungler, if I was ever there. Bungler, if ever there was one. So he pelts Dumbledore with owls every morning, asking for advice. But what does the Ministry of Magic do? Well, their main job is to keep it from the muggles, that there's still witches and wizards up and down the country. Why? Why? Blimey, Harry, everyone will be wanting magic solutions to their problems. Nah, we're best to be left alone. At this moment, the boat bumped gently into the harbour wall. Hagrid folded up his newspaper and they clambered up the stone steps onto the street. Passers-by stared a lot at Hagrid as they walked through the little town to the station. Harry couldn't blame them. Not only was Hagrid twice as tall as anyone else, he kept pointing out perfectly ordinary things like parking meters, saying loudly, "See that, Harry? Things these muggles dream up, eh?" "Hagrid," said Harry, panting a bit as he ran to keep up. "Did you say there are dragons at Gringotts?" "Well, so they say," said Hagrid. "Crikey, I'll like a dragon." "You will like one?" "Wanted one ever since I was a kid." Here we go. They'd reached the station. There's a train to London in 5 minutes' time. Hagrid, who didn't understand Muggle money, as he called it, gave the notes to Harry so he could buy their tickets. People stared more than ever on the train. Hagrid took up 2 seats and sat knitting what looked like a canary yellow circus tent. "Still got your letter, Harry?" he asked as he counted stitches. Harry took the parchment envelope out of his pocket. "Good," said Hagrid. "There's a list out there of everything you need." Harry unfolded a second piece of paper he hadn't noticed the night before and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First year students will require 3 sets of plain work robes, black, 1 plain pointed hat, black for day wear, 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar, 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. Set books. All students should have a copy of each of the following: The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1, by Miranda Goshawk; A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot; Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling; A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emeric Switch, 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Philida Spore, Magical Draughts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipment: one wand, one cauldron, Pluto standard size 2, one set of glass or crystal fields, one telescope, one set brass scales. Students may also bring an owl, or a cat, or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomstick. Can we all buy this in London? Harry wondered aloud. If you know where to go. Harry had never been to London before. Ugh, I'm so sorry. Although Hagrid seemed to know where he was going, he was obviously not used to getting there in an ordinary way. He got stuck in the ticket barrier on the Underground and complained loudly that their seats were too small and the trains were too slow. I don't know how the Muggles manage without magic, he said, as they climbed a broken down escalator which led up to a bustling road lined with shops. Hagrid was so huge that he parted the crowd easily. All Harry had to do was to keep close behind him. They passed bookshops and music stores, hamburger bars and cinemas, but nowhere that looked like as if it could sell you a magic wand. This was supposed to be an ordinary street full of ordinary people. Could there really be piles of wizard gold buried miles beneath them? Were there really shops that sold spell books and broomsticks? Might this not all be some huge joke that the Dursleys had cooked up? If Harry hadn't known that the Dursleys had no sense of humour, he might have thought so. Yet somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help him trust him. "This is it," said Hagrid, coming to a halt. "The Leaky Cauldron. It's a famous place." It was a tiny, grubby-looking pub. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. The eyes slid from the bookshop on the one side to the record shop on the other, as if they couldn't see Leaky Cauldron at all. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Before he could mention this, Hagrid had steered himself inside. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting in a corner, drinking tiny glasses of sherry. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A little man in a top hat was talking to the old barman. He was quite bald and looked like a gummy walnut. The low buzz of chatter stopped when they walked in. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. They waved and smiled at him, and the barman reached for a glass, saying, "The usual, Hagrid?" "And Tom, I'm on a Hogwarts business," said Hagrid, clapping his great hand on Harry's shoulder and making Harry's knees buckle. "Good Lord," said the barman, peering at Harry. "Is this... Can't this be?" The Leaky Cauldron had suddenly gone completely still and silent. "Bless my soul," whispered the old barman. "Harry Potter! What an honor!" He hurried out from behind the bar, rushed towards Harry, and seized his hand, tears in his eyes. "Welcome back, Mr. Potter! Welcome back!" Harry didn't know what to say. Everyone was looking at him. The old woman with the pipe was puffing it without realizing it had gone out. Hagrid was beaming. Then there was a huge scraping of chairs, and the next moment Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron. "Doris Crockford, Mr. Potter. Can't believe I'm meeting you at last. So proud, Mr. Potter. I'm just so proud. Always wanted to shake your hand. I'm all of a flutter. Delighted, Mr. Potter. Just can't tell you. Diggle's the name. Daedalus Diggle. I've seen you before," said Harry, as Daedalus Diggle's top hat fell off in his excitement. "You bowed to me once in a shop." "He remembers!" cried Daedalus Diggle, looking around at everyone. Did you hear that? He remembers me! Harry shook hands again and again. Doris Crockford came coming back for more. A pale young man made his way forward, very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. Professor Quirrell, said Hagrid. Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers at Hogwarts. Potter, stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. Can't tell you how pleased I am to meet you. What sort of magic do you teach, Professor Quirrell? The defense against the dark arts, muttered Professor Quirrell, as though he'd rather not think about it. Not that you need it, eh, Potter? He laughed nervously. You will be getting all your equipment, I suppose. I've got to pick up a book on vampires myself. He looked terrified at the very thought. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. It almost took 10 minutes to get away from them at last. Hagrid managed to make himself heard over the babble. Must get on. Lots to buy. Come on, Harry. Doris Crockford shook Harry's hand one last time, and Hagrid led them through the bar out into a small walled country yard, where there was nothing but a dustbin and a few weeds. Hagrid grinned at Harry. Told you, didn't I? Told you were famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Mind you, he's usually trembling. Is he always that nervous? Oh yeah, poor bloke. Brilliant mind. He was fine while he was studying outer books and he took a year off to get some first-hand experience. They say he met vampires in the Black Forest, and there was a nasty bit of trouble for Hag. Never been the same since. Scared of the students, scared of his own subject. Now, where's my umbrella? Vampires, hags, Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid's Rima was counting bricks in the wall above the dustbin. 3 up, 2 across, he muttered. Right. Stand back, Harry. He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. The brick he had touched quivered. It wriggled in the middle. A small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough even for Hagrid. An archway onto a cobbled street which twisted out and turned out of sight. Welcome, said Hagrid, to Diagon Alley. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I'm sorry I haven't read the whole chapter, but it was a bit much longer. So I'll just read to 76 and then carry on from here and then see if I can do chapter to chapter to chapter. If you guys have enjoyed, then please subscribe. It's free and smash that like button because it helps out so much. I'll see you guys in the next video and goodbye for the next part of chapter 5. Bye!